Sideline
of goal! Lakewood's doing it! They're gonna take it! He's gonna bring down Bernie! Alone with a double kill! Dropping fast! Monopoint's there! He's still alive! Oh, second slide! He's got one side! He's got a second! He's taking it! Oh my god! On three! They're all dead!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to our final game of the evening, the morning, the afternoon. I don't care where you are in the world, but you've got the right idea because you're enjoying day one of Starladder Season 10. Our final best of one is a good one. MiTH.Trust versus Invasion Gaming. I'm Zyori, joined once again by Blaze. Blaze, thoughts, predictions, kind words to open this match. What do you got?
A lot of kind words to both teams. I'm really been impressed by how they've been performing so far in the recent SEA shuffle and kind of persisting through it with very composed lineups. Like, we don't see a lot of shuffling from them, a lot of stand-ins from them. They've been the ones that continuously show up to bat and bring their best. So I'm expecting a lot from both teams. MiTH.Trust, I think, is a team that has more potential, but results-wise, they haven't really been realizing it recently. So I have high expectations that they'll find their flow pretty soon, and for all we know, this will be the big game. But Invasion, they're huge. They have taken games off of all of the best of SEA in recent times and in the past, and obviously they are very consistent as far as their general output of skill.
Yes, sir, they are. MiTH.Trust will get things started with a first pick Razor as Nature's Prophet, Void, Lycan, and the Brewmaster are the first four bans. The one that stands out a little bit, that Nature's Prophet, we have seen very little of him in the first banning couplet, as well as in the first picking couplet. He has just not made a huge splash in the SEA games we've seen post TI4, except for as like a fourth, fifth pick kind of pocket strat when you already have a scary pushing lineup picked up. So a little different from MiTH.Trust. They open with the Razor and Invasion right there with the big old watermelon, Tidehunter, their first pick, which I believe is in line with what they were doing from what we saw in WEC last week.
Yeah, that definitely is appropriate. I mean, they like to pick up heroes that can just be extremely active very early on and contribute just with a couple of big abilities. So in this case here, Razor doesn't like to go BKB too early on, and the Tidehunter is a great hero to control against them pretty well. I'm expecting MiTH.Trust to probably go into their Shadow Shaman plus Sand King lineup. Naki really loves that combo, and he drafts it pretty much whenever he gets a chance. He used to actually first pick the two, and now we're probably going to be waiting for it until the second phase, assuming Invasion doesn't catch on to their schemes here. But they've got some really solid laning on both sides. Viper and Razor are pretty interesting heroes to discuss as far as 1v1 and laning potential. They really bring a lot to the table, as long as they can close the distance on their targets. We'll see a lot from them, but not until the game gets underway for now. Some contemplation coming out from ADTR for this next ban.
Yeah, trying to figure out exactly what angle MiTH.Trust is going for and how they want to approach it. We should approach the stand-ins here. Folks are asking me in Twitch chat what the situation is. On the side of MiTH.Trust, I don't think we have any stand-ins. Somebody is tagged up as WTF.
Yeah, that's Lakel's.
That's Lakel's. Okay, so just not on the proper tag. Oh, Velat's going to be angry. Uh-oh. And on the side of Invasion, we have a full roster except for the stand-in OK. But he's sort of one of those like tryout stand-ins who's been consistently playing with the team. So it's like a 4.5 of Invasion, if you will. The gentleman with the Chinese characters is actually FZ. So they're pretty close to their full roster here.
Yeah, nearly full strength there. And I've been impressed by OK every time we've seen him and cast him very recently. He has been one of the more outstanding support players. So I think that he'll fit right in with what they have going on already. The question is, will he be able to stand up to the potential of what we see already? GoGB is also known as KYT. So for those that don't know him by his other alias, that's a good one to know as well. As far as progressive bans, we do see the Death Prophet coming through. Really, obviously, Naki does not want to have to deal with push right now. Nature's Prophet, Death Prophet, those are the ones that can really wreck your towers very quickly. And Bristleback actually provides his own little bit of split push. It's a unique variety, but still, it can be frustrating to deal with at certain points in time. So physical damage, AoE damage, not so much.
Yeah, definitely. And also just getting rid of those heroes that synergize well with the Death Ball. And an opening of Tidehunter, a Death Prophet certainly synergizes well with that team fight. And even Bristleback, if he has a pretty good time with the Tide, you never know. There's some team fight potential there, and we have seen teams do like a position 1 Bristle if you really want to be aggressive early on. If you can farm up a really fast mech or go for a super fast Vanguard by like the 7-minute mark, you can start that death ball pretty early, and with Bristle in the front lines, he's hard to bring down when you don't have the right clicks to cut through that tanky Vanguard. But alas, we won't see him here. DK, the 4th ban from Invasion, following the Centaur, and right away they go with the Rubik as their 3rd pick. Maybe a bit of a deny here, as of course Rubik works very well against the Tidehunter.
That's very true, but it also works very well against picks they expect MiTH.Trust to bring out. The Sand King and the Doom are the 2 heroes that MiTH.Trust run extremely consistently, but did not pick up in the first phase here. So my pro Doom is what you're going to have to look out for there. He loves to get the Centaur, a very early Blink Dagger, and actually make use of it as if it's a core ability to the hero. Like, he Blink Stomps, and it's a 2-second stun that he is just absolutely on point with. So brings a lot to the table there, some extra disable to provide the Razor with some utility, and of course, it's a great hero to have against if you want to focus on the Viper, or negates Corrosive Skin. As well, you can also take the Tide out of the fight. The one thing, of course, is that you have to worry about it getting spell stolen, and that's where the Rubik comes into play.
Yeah, and also Shadow Shaman is a great hero to have, well, great hero to pick Rubik against. Stealing wards can certainly turn fights around, as we've seen many a time in the past. Visage now, the 4th pick for Invasion. We got to see Visage in Game 1 of today's Starladder opener, and we still just haven't seen a lot of Visage in the SEA scene. We saw it paired with Dro earlier for that kind of pocket strat from Titan. Of course, it was unsuccessful. That VOD is still processing on YouTube right now, I think. Kind of curious if we'll see a Dro pocket pick as the last choice from Invasion, or if this is just a casual Visage because he's just a little underrated right now.
Yeah, I think that they're not going to rely on the draw here. It's just a little bit too much vulnerability towards what they're up against. You get one shackle on him, and Drow is completely screwed over. Enchantress is going to be good against the Visage because of the pure damage output of Impetus, negating Gravekeeper's Cloak for the most part. Yeah, I think that in general these are smart picks from both sides, but really coming down to the last picks, I don't think a Templar Assassin would have been that big of a deal, but they go ahead and take it off the board anyways.
Impetus does, you can use it on the familiars, right?
That's a very good question, because they've been reworking how magic immunity and magic resistance works in the familiars over the past couple of patches, and that's one that I don't offhand know. I know that pure damage nukes like ODs does, so I would have to say that yes, it does.
I think it does. I'm picturing her Impetus trucking familiars, and there's sort of a small counter there because, you know, they tend to fly up over cliffs, so the Impetus does extra damage and she can clear them up pretty easily. But as you mentioned, that's a mechanic that has been played around with a bit, so we'll have to try and just take note of where it stands. Keep that on the back burner, Blaze. That's your homework. This this cast here. Does Impetus work on the pesky familiars?
Yeah, I think it's 100% magic resistance, which doesn't mean they're immune, which means it applies. But yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on it, and at the very least, I'll go ahead and test it out after this cast if we don't get the chance. But it's just really good against Viper and Visage because they are some of the few heroes that have those enhancing mechanics for durability, the armor and the magic resistance on both of their passives, and that is just going to punch right through it. So very effective indeed, and Enchantress is going to be a force to be reckoned with if she does get some early momentum, which is pretty much the name of the game for them. That and getting Lakill some crazy farm. He is one of the best farmers in the game, but it seems to be probably playing the more active hero, the Razor here. Like I think he only plays like 2 or 3 heroes that don't go crazy late game. Like he loves his Morphling, his Anti-Mage, but Razor, Wraith King, he likes to just kind of play a mid-game strat with them, and that works fine too.
Yep. And okay, Mirana, the final choice for Invasion. The lady that needs some love here. We haven't seen her picked up too much over the past few games we've covered, but she pairs very nicely with Rubik, and that's a scary tri-lane. Mirana, Rubik, Visage. You've got some setup for the arrows, you've got the slow, and then the huge nukes from Visage. He should be able to get quite a few charges on that Soul Assumption just from the damage of Mirana and Rubik alone. So there's a lot of kill potential there in the early stage for Invasion. I like this. Very aggressive. Between those 3, the Viper and the Tide, they have some pretty damn strong laners.
Yeah, I do like the pick. I'm not sure if it'll be strong enough for them to just absolutely dominate. It's obviously a very skill-based hero, so it really comes down to execution. Telekinesis into arrow is pretty reliable, and if it's like a 3 versus 1, they should be able to pick off the Doom once or twice. But yeah, it really comes down to positioning, execution, and making things happen. So we'll see spell steals, we'll see arrows, lots of really cool things to call out in these big fights.
Yeah, definitely. Now, final pick for MiTH.Trust. They will need... How do they normally run the Doom? Position 1 or off lane? Where does Naki like to, or MiPro rather, like to run his Doom?
For the most part, it's in the solo mid. It's
Okay.
variable because they used to have a player that actually picked the Doom in the jungle like anytime that he could, but that was on their previous team, Everlast Gaming, and I don't think that they've really graduated that strategy over to this lineup here. So I'd expect it to be in the mid, but it definitely could be in the offlane as well. But as we see here, Clockwork is going to be picked up for the offlane.
Yeah, a nice initiator there, and I'm sure Doom will grab a Blink Dagger, as you were talking about, at some point in this game. So they've got initiation and then some counter initiation there with the Clockwork to follow up. Another hero we haven't seen a lot of recently, but one that can be quite fun. So, all right, I think we're in store for an action-packed game here, Blaze. At the very least, we should see some skirmishes break out sooner rather than later.
Oh, most definitely. We're not going to be some passive rat game or anything like that. Ghost obviously didn't get his signature Nature's Prophets. Yeah, I think there's going to be activity from even before Heroes at level 6, but especially then.
Yep, and whoa, daddy, Invasion. Off to the races with a 5-man smoke headed up the mid lane. I'll take the easy ones. I'll introduce this side here. We've got Ghost playing on the Tidehunter, probably slated for the off lane. It is FZ on the Visage here with these Asian characters. Okay, the stand-in playing on the support Rubik. Ketchik Imba on the Viper, probably slated for the mid lane. And ADTR, of course, on the position 1 Mirana. We'll see how this smoke treats them. They move right into the Dire jungle. And can they find what they're looking for? They want to mess up this Enchantress early on. They've got some observers and actually no sentries on them. They're looking for blood. They'll find a telekinesis onto Razor. Oh no, arrow hits him in the face. First blood will fly. What the fuck, he says? Oh no. Disastrous. Viper draws the first blood.
Yeah, it's not often you see Rubik having the movement speed advantage on the Razor here, but okay goes for the boots first. He loves to do that on his initiating supports, and Lakel's, he doesn't like it. He wants to go for base damage to make sure he gets every single creep he can, and that costs him his initial life. Doesn't really set him back too far forward, but Viper is going to be dominating that mid matchup for the most part, already starting essentially with boots. He's got 449 in the bank.
Yeah, that is really scary against this Doom. On the Dire side, it will be MiPro headed mid, as you pointed out. Naki will be on the Enchantress, sprunking around, starting at the bottom rune spawn, and will move back into the Dire jungle. No wards came down to block spawns, just one Dire observer here in the jungle, but of course they put that themselves, and they're in fine shape. Mama will be on the Shadow Shaman, supporting away in the off lane. It is, who is this playing on the Clockwork?
Sorry, looking at him, that's GoGB. It's also KYT.
KYT, that's the name I was looking for. Okay, so tagged up slightly different here. Oh, Rubik invisible. He's in the jungle. He's scouting around. We've got, last but not least, WTF, a.k.a. Lakel's. He'll be on the Razor in the position 1 on the safe lane.
Yeah, so this is the kind of strategy you like to put out against an Enchantress when you can high pressure. Actually, another arrow right in the face. Enchantress doesn't have a chance.
Oh, yeah, she's boned. Nowhere to go. 2-0 Invasion off to the races. So far, this Rubik-Mirana duo has proved super effective.
Yeah, and the really cool thing is, although they didn't actually put any wards down, their position in the enemy jungle invading made MiTH.Trust think they did. So they put a sentry ward on the east to try to unlock the camp over there, and they even tried to unlock a pull that is completely available to them. So 200 gold just completely down the drain, and it's just based on the fact that they're so used to that being the standard procedure there.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Rather unfortunate for them, and it won't set them back too much, but at this early stage, everything counts. That's 200 gold less their supports will have to move towards those early boots, and could start the snowball going the wrong direction here out of the gate.
Mid lane, we're going to see MiPro take a lot of harassment here. He doesn't have much armor to work with, so the Nether Toxin will really come into play here. Right now, though, we are going to see Ketchik Imba go for a build that's very common in SEA, which is earlier points in poison attack, and then pretty much every single time you auto-attack your opponent, you're going to put poison attack into them. Even if you're refreshing it, it's just a really good way to gain that extra bit of leverage in the lane and turn your mana into pain against the opposition. So, works for him now. He'll probably go Basilius, it looks like, and then try to gather up this regen rune to keep bringing the pain.
Yeah, unfortunate that Doomed couldn't just pick it up himself as he walked by, and he'll be forced to hand it over to the Viper, but he does find a creep that is, oh, wow, I'm looking at Doom up top. They'll initiate once again. Razor gets caught by the telekinesis arrow combo, and they'll make it a double kill as they catch Mama as well. It's a 2-0 in the top lane, and Lakel's, he is in big trouble. 0-2 in the first 2.5 minutes of gameplay, only 6 CS under his belt, as they kill him once again.
This is one of the tri-lanes where if you gain a little bit of momentum, a little bit of traction, then you're just going to be able to take it 2 or 3 steps further, because you have the Visage, which when he gets to level 2, level 3, now he's able to kind of follow up with a huge amount of damage with his Soul Assumption. And of course, Rubik can increase his telekinesis range to find even greater openings for ADTR. So they're already just skyrocketing forward. ADTR probably going to go for the phase boots and just completely rout the opposition, while Lakelz is in a very uncomfortable spot.
Yes, absolutely. At least he has his brown boots, but still not where he wants to be. Missed that kill. I got distracted with the Ice Armor on Doom, a deceivingly strong ability for the Doombringer. One you'd normally scoff at, but he's notably low in the armor, so this really ups his effective HP, especially against someone like Viper who, well, he has some magic damage from that poison attack, but his auto attacks hurt just as much. So this will help out MiPro a fair bit in the mid lane. Will it be enough to save him from this incoming gank, though? And that I'm rather skeptical about. He'll overcommit, takes a grave chill, okay, catches him with the telekinesis, can pull him back on the side of the cliff, and the right clicks will commence. Ketchik will be able to bring him down, it looks like. Yeah, he sure will. The Ice Armor helps buy some time, but Viper secures the kill, and that'll make it 5-0 in the first 5 minutes of gameplay.
Yeah. Now, I will note that there was one usage of telekinesis that I think was rather inefficient. Rather than having to dive the tower and walk away with half HP, they could have pulled him down the cliff into the river. Can't really see it very well with the way the water interacts with the drawings there. But if you actually TK him down, then if you don't have that many slows, you risk him just kind of taking the long road around in the river. But because they had so many slowing effects, they could have definitely killed him there without taking a single tower shot. So slightly inefficient, but nevertheless, a good movement from them. Smoke ganking through, and Viper's practically level 6 already. That's insane.
And Doom just at the beginning of level 4. Huge disparity growing between these two heroes, not only in levels, but also in last hits. Doom with 8 under his belt, Viper sitting on 20 right now.
And 17 denies. Like, that's insane.
That's pretty scary. That's that value point in Nether Toxin right there, and the early Aquila. That's all a Viper needs to secure those early last hits. And they will rotate on him. Naki is smoked up, has himself a Satyr as well as a Centaur, and Mama will wrap around the other side. Mama only level 2 right now, no boots. No, he's okay. That movement speed just from the smoke. He is damn slow though. And are those his boots on the courier? Yeah, they sure are, and some wards. So that'll help Mama's initiation a little bit here. But do they actually have the damage to kill the Viper? Doom's not level 6, and even with the Shackle, Viper has that 1 point in corrosive skin, takes an Ether Shock, but the Rubik is right there. Telekinesis secures the kill onto the Enchantress. Viper still falls. The Enchantress creeps bring him down. Can they grab another kill? Mama getting very low. They just don't have the follow-up damage. Hookshot in from Clockwork as he TPs forward. 2 inside the cogs. Battery Assault is online. It is level 3. A lot of damage coming out. They grab a kill on the Rubik. So MiTH.Trust come out ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice turnaround with the Clockwork at the very least there. It was very well worth it in the first place just to trade the Enchantress's life for the Vipers. But, yeah, it was a very risky play. Like, there was no guarantee that Viper was going to be brought down in that time frame. But they made the right movements. They had the Satyr tank up the tower shots for as long as it could. And they did get the long duration disables they needed to walk away from that successful. So, still, they give plenty of time for Mirana to have face time with Lakelz up top, and while that usually would be a bad thing, with the amount of momentum Mirana's gained, she's still going to be handling this decently well. 27 for 12 is for her own, but if you think about how much Lakelz has gained in that time, 22 for 4, you got to be impressed with this guy's ability to rebound right back.
Yeah, definitely. And again, we're seeing this Plasma Field primary build. Level 5, 3 points in the Plasma Field, but 2 points in the Static Link. Maybe he'll just do sort of an even build. We'll see as he gets a few more points in. Eager for a bit of extra burst damage, as he reckons he won't be able to man up on folks with that Static Link. Even going for the Power Treads. More often than not, you'll see Razors opt for the Phase Boots, especially if they're snowballing a little bit ahead so they can chase people down. But here Lakelz feels he really needs that extra HP buffer, and I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah, I think that if he ever wants to take points in ultimates in his ultimate early, then he needs that extra bit of durability. Magic Wand Treads is going to be the answer to that, because as it just wasn't enough, and Eye of the Storm would have been useless. But they're going to look for an opening here. They get some Ice Armor up, looking for the Shackles onto ADTR, but he's got that leap, and seems he's aware enough, even though the smoke has yet to be revealed.
Doom is now 6. He's found a little recovery following that skirmish in the mid, and that could be what they need to secure the kill on the Mirana. But, oh, Moonlight Shadow. Get carried away. There is a dire sentry down. Oh, the trap is set, but they'll initiate right onto Lakelz. Viper Strike comes out. The follow-up damage is there. Mirana caught inside the Shackles. It's a 1-for-1. There's Tide with the TP and the Ravage. They'll pick off the Shadow Shaman. Now MiPro on the run. Hook shot in from the Clockwork. They throw out the Doom on the Viper. Maybe they can bring him down. Yep, they've got the damage. It's a 2 for 2. Mirana and Viper in exchange for the Razor and the Shadow Shaman. Now Ghost, desperately trying to survive with the Battery Assault, will bring him down. One last auto attack from KYT puts MiTH.Trust ahead once again.
Yeah, the offlane rotations is really what makes this game so interesting. When they come in and when they commit their ultimates, changes the scope of the fight 100%. But obviously, the Clockwork getting the better end of it. KYT just knows exactly how to pin somebody down. And now that he's gotten his level 8, he's dealing a lot of magical damage and can just stay right on top of his targets. So now we see down bottom, pressure coming in. Visage taking a huge amount of damage, and he should fall.
Yeah, the Static Link doing some serious work there. Lekels gets telekinesed into the tower. Not enough follow-up damage to bring him down below half health. So 6-8, MiTH.Trust with a pretty solid recovery so far. It was 5-0. It looked like Invasion might be able to just run away with it, but gold lead almost even, and experience has now gone back in favor of MiTH.Trust. As you pointed out, a lot of that because of the rotations from this Clockwork. KYT has been all over the place and just power treads Magic Wand and Bottle right now, but the experience is what's really important. Now has 4 points in Battery Assault and starting to level up that Rocket Flare for every little bit of extra damage.
Yep, he's got some good strength gain. If you can pin down the Visage right here, this is going to be another easy kill, and indeed he does.
Cogs. Yeah, this should be an easy one. Arrow will fly through, hits the Clockwork, but the follow-up damage is just not there. ADT will be forced to about face. He will get his Aquila delivered. So he'll click maybe a bit harder, but yeah, don't really want to go blow for blow with that level 6 Enchantress.
Yeah, that's actually some nice micro from Naki too. He knows the limitations of the range of the Dark Troll Summoner, is actually using like some anti-pathing mechanics to really just extend his reach. Unfortunately, obviously there's no follow through, but just showing how well he knows this area in particular. He's able to maneuver around it, but with the Dark Troll Summoner expiring, they're very limited in their kill without a Doom. There's the Doom though, so...
Doom on you! ADT will take a tumble. Easy kill for MiTH.Trust. And Enchantress now on a killing spree as she sprungs her way back to the jungle.
Yeah, and now the supports on the side of Invasion actually look to be performing a little lackluster. They're 10 minutes in, they need their level 6, and they're just a little bit off from it. They can't really just sit here and try to wait for the creeps to come to them either, because the control has been really good on the side of MiTH.Trust. So for now, it really seems like Shadow Shaman and Enchantress have found their way, and Rubik and Visage are just a little bit off. So we'll see a Ravage come through pretty soon from Ghost, and hopefully that'll tip them over the edge in a fight, but for now, they actually seem to be on the back foot despite the early kills.
Yeah, the tables have really turned. Mama was off to such a slow start, no boots, and he finally found some recovery XP from those ganks, and he actually hit level 6 before the Rubik or the Visage, which I just find startling and surprising. And for the Radiant side, they just needed to bide their time a little bit more before they started leveling things out here, as it is tied up 8-8. Visage and Rubik are two supports that basically become different heroes when they hit level 6, and that is really stymieing their their progress right now. But I think once those supports hit level 6, things will start to level out a bit more. And Rubik hasn't really become a threat until that spell steal is online, or a super scary threat in these team fights, I guess I should say.
Interesting interaction here on the mid lane. The Tornado's coming through and harassing back Ketchuk Imbo a little bit here and there, but it's one of the few abilities that you can hit on Viper without taking damage back from Corrosive Skin. The Death Ward's another one where it's got its own independent damage source, and presumably the Tornado is the other one. Yeah,
because I guess it's technically its own unit. It's not you doing the damage. The Tempest is its targetable thing, so it is an interesting mechanic, though, worth pointing out. Dire's side will abuse their advantage here as Naki picks up an early medallion. Roster wards come down. All that physical damage makes it a nice, easy, clean Roche kill here at the 12-minute mark. Completely uncontested. Invasion don't even seem privy to it. Lekels will now find his way into an Aegis of the Immortal as he starts to come online even more. Ogre Club in tow, well on his way to either a BKB or an Ag Scepter. Smoke on the high ground from Invasion. Ghost coming in, ready to hit the Ravage. He hits it on 4. Follow-up is here. There's the Anchor Smash. MyPro, the first to go down. WTF, a.k.a. Lekels on the run, and that'll be the end of his Aegis. 2-0 to get things started. Can they bring down Lekels again? Hook shot forward from KYT. It's at point blank. The follow-up isn't there, and it's just for zoning. It'll cost him his life as well. He gets clicked down by the Viper, and now Lekels goes back in. He'll fall. Moonlight Shadow's used, and it's a 4-0 exchange, plus the Aegis. Invasion right back to where they were. And now, okay, level 7, and Visage will hit level 7 as well. The big ultimates are online, and momentum has shifted once again.
100%. Great ultimate from the Tidehunter. Pre-blink getting a Ravage of that magnitude is absolutely insane. And also really good focus fire on the side of Invasion. Bringing down the Doom before he could use his ultimate or use Mechanism. Either one of those could have turned the fight back around. But they just single him down. The Nether Toxin especially playing its part in that, dealing the up to 120 bonus damage on his low HP target. And yeah, Doom gets singled out. So that was really, really good for the side of Invasion. Needless to say, they clean up the Aegis. They just bring it right back into their fold.
Yeah, great timing as well on Invasion. As soon as Roche went down, MiTH were just not ready for that. I think they were expecting Invasion to be farming and caught off guard, but Invasion were just prepared on the high ground with a smoke, and as soon as they saw the opening, went straight for it. Beautifully executed. And we'll glance at the gold graph, and boy, is it a roller coaster. Back to 1,000 gold in favor of Invasion. MiTH still holding on to about a 1,500 experience lead. The gold graph will level out once more, though, as Rost awards come down for this bottom Tier 1 tower. MiTH.Trust do secure their first tower kill of the game. It won't come for free, though. It's a Tier 1 for Tier 1 exchange, as Viper and Mirana finish off the T1 in the top. Now, mid, will it be a 2-for-1 tower exchange, as MiTH.Trust's Enchantress and Doombringer press forward, looking for a deny, perhaps. Telekinesis on the Doom. They'll bring him into tower range, right into an anchor smash. He pops his mech. Tower gets killed, and it does go to the Dire. No deny comes out. Scorched Earth gets popped, but whoa, he gets hit by a stray arrow. Follow-up isn't there, as Invasion are on the retreat, and MiTH.Trust have reinforcements that are inbound.
Yeah, that mid-tier 1 was a tiebreaker there. They kind of evened it up one way or another, but getting that last hit instead of a deny was absolutely huge on their side. And now they open up the Radiant jungle so effectively. It's really hard to contest this territory. If you look at Radiant Vision right now, they're enclosed in. Like, they get the top rune spawn covered up, and that's nice, but they have to smoke and try to regain their lost territory.
Yeah, and also being Radiant, you need those access points to get to Roche. The bottom Tier 2 is probably their closest point to the Roche pit, but that Tier 1 mid is really what you need to try and contest easily if you scout your opponents heading in there, and especially given that they have the Rost awards and a medallion. That certainly will be a reality with the second Roche. The smoke from Invasion rotating all the way towards the top lane. They see Lakel's farming away. They'll even pop the Moonlight Shadow on top of the smoke to make this extra sneaky. Lakel's has no idea it's coming, and they'll just click him down. They don't even need to burn the ultimates here. Easy kill on the Razor.
And Tide had Blink too, but okay, it's going to be GB going right on in. KYT really wants this. Nice movement, but really, what does he expect to come of that?
Yeah, arrow flies through just barely off the mark. The mech was the game breaker there. Would have been an easy kill onto OK had the mech not been there, but Viper was ready and waiting. Ketchik keeps his buddy alive, and that takes a 1-for-0 to just a 2-for-0. It ends up being kind of a feed for the Clockwork.
Yeah, I mean, it was a nice cog combo to bring 2 into it, but there is absolutely no follow-through on this team after Lakel's is down, and especially when they didn't burn any ultimates, as you mentioned. So, yeah, a little bit of awkward movement there. Hopefully it doesn't cost them too dearly, but the Tier 2 already takes the hits.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, Blink on the Tide with a Ravage available. That is not a position you really want to just YOLO into in terms of fighting. If you can initiate and jump on the Tide, perhaps, that's one thing. But just to hop in on 2 with a Tide ready to Ravage, I can see why the remaining members of MiTH.Trust were not eager to follow up with that Clockwork's hook shot. It will result in a Tier 2 tower kill in the top lane. Visage will secure the last hit, and Invasion will fall into the gold lead once again. Now up by about 1,000 gold and experience. But boy, has this been a back-and-forth game. And still, anyone's for the taking.
This gem pickup on OK is huge. It's kind of a make-or-break thing. If he loses it very early on, it's going to be extremely problematic. But at least for the moment, picking up this Gem of True Sight and clearing out all the wards that are in their jungle when there are only 4 minutes left. They have 1.5 on the other one, so I guess it's not the longest. But claiming back their territory opens up Roche, as you mentioned. It just is really important for them to get back control of the map.
Absolutely. Down in the bottom lane, Maw trying to be cheeky here. We'll just throw some wards down on this Tier 2 tower. So hoping to find a Tier 2 for a Tier 2 exchange and get his team a little bit of extra gold here rather than trying to take a team fight at the Tier 2 tower where they may not be successful. Invasion will be privy to it, though. The Visage TP's down, and that will repel the roster. The rest of the team, wow, they are a convoy, and they are hungry for some Shadow Shaman. He does have a TP scroll, so there is a chance Maw can just move into the trees and TP out. And it looks like that will be the case. So Mama's movement just by himself was enough to draw back the forces of Invasion and keep that Tier 2 tower alive without a skirmish.
Okay, so they're going to feed the gem to Ghost, it would look like. They put on Ketchikan, but originally. Now Rubik's got it. He finds some nice juicy wards. And although it was a bit of a waste of movement, if they can find more wards that are being freshly placed right here by Naki, then they're going to be in a pretty good spot. In fact, Naki doesn't even have a TP. This is a crazy aggressive movement, even with a Force Staff, to try to pull off. Like, they can pursue to no end with a lot of their abilities. And yeah, they're just going to clean up the center real quick, find this ward casually, and that's a pretty huge loss for MiTH.Trust.
Yeah, unfortunately, that movement from Enchantress will be to little avail. Even puts another ward down on the low ground. In kind of a different position that might not get scattered out right away, but any ward on the low ground where there's a gem of True Sight on the field is pretty vulnerable. And even if it's on the high ground, having a Visage gives you that extra bit of flying vision to make things easier. Rubik walks right over it, and oh no, he doesn't have the gem anymore. Who's the carrier? Is it back on the
looks
Tide?
like the Courier, maybe? I think they put it on the Courier, yeah. So
Oh,
they
yeah, they
felt like they got enough out of it for now, and they don't want to risk giving it away against the Moonlight Shadow.
All right, yeah, fair enough. One ward will stay standing. Looking at the Dire vision, that's it. Where they are, or right here, is all the vision the Dire have. Conversely, Radiant really don't have too many wards down either. Only one on the high ground outside of their Ancients, but they're not fighting quite as hard for map control. We see a lot of Dire sentries coming down in their jungle, looking for wards, and of course also being cautious of the Moonlight Shadow movements as Lakelz farms away in the jungle. Speaking of Lakelz, he has picked up his first big item. It's a BKB, still at the 10-second charge. A decent recovery for Lakelz, given the start that he had. He is now the #1 farmer on the Dire side, but a ways to go before he catches up to the Viper, or even that of the Mirana.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Mirana is really that devastating right now. She's banking a lot of her gold, so we'll see what she ends up doing with it. If she picks up like a Maelstrom straight up, then maybe she'll be more threatening. But for right now, I think the Viper is the big player. The Tidehunter, of course, being the initiator, and then the follow-through comes from Viper and Visage for the most part. So we'll see positioning and things like that. ADTR, really, he just adds a lot of utility to the team right now. The arrows that have connected have pretty much always secured kills. There's only one exception to that. And then, of course, the Invis and Leap movement is allowing them to kind of have a lot of forward momentum. Now it's going to be potentially a Tier 2 for Tier 2 trade. Down bottom, it is going to go down to the Mass Serpent wards, but will they be able to TP to respond?
That is the question, and even if they want to take a team fight here, they know wards won't be available, so Invasion may try to force a skirmish. Glyph comes out for the Dire side as the bottom Tier 2 falls. At present, it's just a Tier 2 for nil in favor of MiTH.Trust. Invasion looking for the right opening here. They will go back in to chip at the tower. Familiars doing a little bit of damage. They don't have any charges right now, so they don't hit too hard. Power Cogs as they come in. There's the reinitiation from Ghost. Ravage on 3. The follow-up damage is there. The mech comes out, but Lakelz first to go down. Doom ultimate comes out onto Ketchik, but there's just no follow-up. The Clockwork gets finished off by a Soul Assumption. The Tier 2 goes down, and again, it tips the scales for Invasion to come out ahead.
Yeah, the BKB is absolutely nothing if you don't get a chance to use it, and that Ravage just obviously caught them off guard. Going out in that position at nighttime, he gets to jump in, gets to actually Ravage into Arrow on the Razor. Now another Arrow flying through, not going to hit on Naki, but still, they're going pretty deep to force her back, and they really do want this high ground push.
Yeah, luckily for Invasion, the creep wave was already knocking on the front door of the Dire base, so that was an easy rotation for them just to head up there. Razor and Clockwork will be respawning, and since they locked the Razor down so well, when he comes back, it will be with a vengeance. BKB, level 2 ultimate, ready to rock and roll, so they will need to be cautious, and with that, they will back out. And I think that's definitely the smart play. A lot of damage on this tower, and whoa-ho-ho! Visage finds a kill on Naki with the Familiars. So yeah, nicely done. They get a straight kill and a lot of damage on the tower out of it.
Yeah, that was pretty silly. Enchantress is a very low armor hero naturally. The Medallion helps, but obviously not enough, as the Familiars, even at rank 1, were able to finish the job here. And I was just looking at Enchantress trying to impetus down those Familiars, and they were not taking any bonus damage. So
okay,
there we go. Now in mid, a big arrow comes out. Do they have the follow-through? Okay, it's pretty close, but they know that there is a response team.
Yeah. So Lakelz, the arrow magnet. Oh, it is Strug City for this poor Razor. MiTH.Trust now move into the Roche pit. Again, they put the wards down. They've got the glyph available. Radiant Vision. They have some observers down. One on the high ground here. They saw them make the rotation into the pit. The question is, does Invasion actually want to contest this? If so, they need to make a movement pretty much now. Roche down below half health. And there's the Moonlight Shadow. There are Dire sentries down. They find the ward. They know they've been scouted. They're at the point where they need to commit, though. No Ravage available for another 20 seconds. KYT will get caught on the high ground, hoping to hook shot in, but they'll catch him. Roche very low. They need to move into the pit. It will go down to the Dire. Aegis picked up by Lakelz. Naki takes a lot of damage, but will survive. Lakelz in the front lines. That'll be the end of the Aegis. Doom ultimate out onto Ketchik. Again, a good choice, but He's just too damn tanky. He'll survive, and he'll be able to mech after this. Doom stolen by the Rubik. Puts it out onto Lakelz after he BKBs. Lakelz will fall for a second time. No way around it, and it's a 4-for-0 exchange once again. Mech gets popped, and now Invasion will go straight for the base. They don't need Roche to take a successful team fight. MiTH.Trust in some trouble here, Blaze.
Yeah, that was absolutely brutal. Losing the fight that badly without Ravage, just absolutely insane. Rubik will have Doom up for the next time around, and they were really hoping that BKB comeback would be enough. Coming out of the Aegis with the Eye of the Storm active and pop the BKB immediately, he hoped it would be enough, but he just doesn't have the right-click damage. Right now he's only hitting for like 110. It's just like very minimal. It doesn't pack the punch they needed to, and from here it's extremely difficult to defend, even against all these low HP targets. Like, they'll have the mech back up, and they can either go for the racks or just disengage.
All right, hook shot onto Visage, but one of the cogs will fall, and there we go. That's that Ravage we missed in the last team fight. It'll connect on 3. Clockwork first to fall, and it looks like MyPro will be the next target of choice. Still no Doom available. They won't commit into the base board as Enchantress pops out the attendants. Lakelz gets stuck outside of the base. Now the shackle onto Ghost. He'll be able to tank it. One more impetus will bring him down. A triple kill, an ultra kill for Ketchik. That secures the GG, and Invasion with a quick game 3 for the day, 25-9 in only 24 minutes of gameplay. Wow, what a dominant performance in our final match for day 1 of Starladder 10.
Ghost, the monstrous melon, those Ravages were absolutely insane. Just, I mean, obviously the first one was the most impressive because he didn't even have the blink. He just smoked into it, but these have just been 100% on point. I mean, he not only got the 4-man Ravage, but he got a 3-man Anchor Smash. Like, he's just perfectly on point, and MiTH.Trust are just handing it to him. They're clustering up left and right when they know it's off cooldown, and it's just extremely unfortunate, but that's how Tidehunter works. You don't have the BKBs, you better not be anywhere near each other because he punishes you so dearly. And in this case, Invasion earned every single kill of this game.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. And just looking at Lakelz, of course, he's tagged up as WTF here. An appropriate name for his performance this game. 0, 8, and 5. So atypical of Lakelz. There's the old homage, in Lakelz we trust. In this game, he just never got the ball rolling. Of course, it all started wrong. He got picked off in that first early skirmish in the jungle, was the victim of the first blood. And then their safe lane duo lane just got destroyed by the Rubik, Mirana, Visage tri-lane in the aggro. So,
and
poor Lakelz.
He still ended it out with top CS. Just throwing it out there. But the last hit tally is up there. So, not a lot of people can die 8 times in 24 minutes and still manage almost 400 GPM. So,
that's
there's
a good
something
point.
At least.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Still Lakelz, but only so much you can do when you're shut down that hard in lane. Guys, that wraps up our coverage today. Day 1 of Starladder Season 10. I can't believe we're finally here. There is so much Dota content coming your way over the next month and a half. It's just the SEA region right now. The matches will continue on for the next 4 days. Then we'll have a little break, and then starting in September is when the other sections get underway, and full Starladder chaos will ensue. I'm Zyori here solo in the studio for now. LD will be returning in early September, and Parker is still feeling a bit under the weather. Blaze is joining me remotely. Make sure you give him some love on Twitter, at BlazeCasting, and of course, I'm at ZyoriTV. Both of those are in the title of this broadcast, and at Beyond the Summit to stay up to date with all things happening on BTS. We are your official source for English coverage of Starladder Season 10. Thank you so much for joining us, Blaze, my friend. It's always a pleasure, and I hope to see you again in coverage.
Yeah, likewise. This is going to be an intense round-robin group stage. Amazing teams with some amazing plays, and of course, a few throws along the lines. That's always fun too. So, good to be here, and can't wait for tomorrow.
Absolutely. With that, guys, take care, and we'll see you same place, same time for Day 2 of Starladder 10 SEA.